Hi guys, this is Stephanie and I am Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. Today I'm coming to you guys with my May wrap-up. Now these are all the books that I read in May. I actually read 8 books this month and I'm a little bit impressed with that because I'm normally like a 4 or 5 book person, so 8's pretty good for me. Of my TBR last month, I read 6 of those 9 books, and of the 3, one of them made it back onto my TBR for June. I just wasn't in the mood to read the other 2, but I did read 6 of them, 2 of which were suggested to be read. So let's get into the books. First, I'm going to start with The Vile Village, which is the 7th book in the series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket. Now, I really did enjoy this book. As the series was starting, first, second, third, fourth book, I was kind of like, it's the same thing every time. I'm not really enjoying this. I enjoyed this one even more than the one before. Each one is getting better, which is good because I was less than impressed by the 5th one. I was like, really? This is it? And everybody talks about how great this is, and I'm bored. This wasn't boring. This one was good. It was clever. I really did like it. Again, I can't talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil it, but I did like it, and I've been giving most of these like a 3.0 out of 5, and I gave this one like a 3.2. It was a little better than the others. And I also read The Hostel Hospital, also by Lemony Snicket. This is the 8th book in the series, and I gave this one like about a 3.4, so a little bit better. I liked this book. I like that the kids are figuring things out and we're getting answers, which after I read the first book, I didn't think there needed to be answers. But then I realized there do need to be answers. And I like this because they are giving me answers. I am hoping to read the next 2 this month because I'm really enjoying these. The next book I read this month was Shatter Me by Tahera Mafi. I had really high expectations for this book. It's had a lot of hype. And some people have said, oh, it doesn't live up to the hype. And I was thinking, well, I've heard good things. Not so much. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. One of the stars is because I think the cover is absolutely beautiful. The second star is because I think it could be good. Like, I'm really on the line of whether I want to finish this series or not, because this is a series that I feel like has so much potential, but I have a lot of books to read and I don't know if I'm willing to read a book on potential alone. I also got really irritated by the writing. Now, I know people are like, the writing's beautiful, and it is. It's very lyrical and it's poetic and it is beautiful, but it got annoying fast. Like after 2 or 3 chapters, I was like, oh, okay, so nothing's literal. Everything's in these heinous metaphors, off the wall, couldn't possibly happen. And then it's getting distracting to me when she says things like, all of my bones turned to mush. And I'm like literally turned to mush? Did you fall to the ground? How do you stay up without bones? I know I'm being too literal, but it was distracting because every metaphor was like a 14-year-old girl in angst. And I'm like, isn't she supposed to be like 17? This is irritating. So even if she's like a 17-year-old who hasn't had socialization her entire life, this is still irritating. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the way she seemed so much younger than she was. Now, given 14-year-old Stephanie probably would have liked this book. She would have been irritated by Juliet as well, but she would have liked it. You know, 35-year-old Stephanie's just not liking this book. There was not enough character development. There was very little plot development. I think I was 200 pages in before there was a change in scenery. And it really wasn't a very good change in scenery. The book ends with a fairly good hook. The last like 20 pages were like, hey, this is interesting. So if they could just take the first, whatever pages and condense that into 20, and then we'll have the last 20, and we'll have ourselves a really good short story that I would read. It was just not something that I was enjoying. And in case you didn't know, the premise is there's a girl who has a touch that is fatal, basically. She can kill you with her touch. That's about all you really know about the book to start out with. That's about all I really knew about the book to start out with. And I don't know. I really don't know. If you guys tell me in the comments down below that the series gets better, I will continue on with the series, but I don't have a lot of faith in it right now. Ding, 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 ding. Next, I read The Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings. Now, I think that whatever I said in my May TBR about this book was wrong. So whatever I said, I must have been describing a different book, because that wasn't this book in the slightest. This book is a dystopian society where a girl is trying to get this job to help support her family. And her mom died a long time ago. And it basically, like, the weird thing in this dystopian society is people get killed. So, like, just random times, there's like a murder hour or dark hour or something like that, and then just like murder just happens like crazy, like that kind of thing. So it's kind of odd. I had a lot of questions. I did get a little bored. I didn't want to get bored. I really wanted to like this more than I did, but I did get a little bored. I gave it like a 2.8 stars. Like, I did like it. I will probably read the next book, but it got a little convoluted in there, and in the middle a little bit. I was like, for a while I was like, yeah, I don't quite buy that. Like, it just was a little off the wall and overcomplicated. There were quite a few characters to keep track of at one point, and then something happened to one of them and I was like, what? And then they're talking on the next page and I had to go back and reread because I got confused. But honestly, I could see it was a pretty good book. I think I would have liked it if I was more in the mood for a dystopian book, because it is a dystopian book and I haven't really been in the mood for it. I thought it was more of a thriller, so confusion on me. But I think it was pretty good. I will continue on the series. I believe there's another book. I don't think there's a third. I think it's just a duology. So I think eventually I'll read it. I'm not in a huge hurry. I'm going to have to wait till I'm in the mood for dystopian to read it. But all over, it was okay. Next book I'm going to talk about is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Now, I actually did a review on this one, and the first part of the review, I just talk about the book. The second part of the review, I spoil it. So I will give you a very clear time of when to leave if you don't want to be spoiled. This was a book I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really like this. And maybe it's because I didn't know much about it, and it kind of took me from out of nowhere, out of the blue, and it was just great. I'm not usually one who picks up thrillers per se. I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to books, so I don't normally read books like that. I'll leave my review linked below and go into more detail down there, but basically it's a book about a guy who wakes up and his life is no longer his life. His wife isn't his wife, his son isn't his son, he doesn't have the same job anymore, he doesn't live where he lived anymore, so it's a mystery, Charlie Brown. But it was a mystery that I really enjoyed. I felt like the book was compelling enough to keep me turning the pages. I wanted to know what's happened. I didn't get bored. I didn't get confused. And it really rolled well, all without being super duper scary. Hey! So I did like that one. I would recommend that one to read. If you're looking for something that's more of a mystery or more of a thriller, I think you get through it pretty fast. I listened to it on audiobook, and I think I listened to it in like two sittings. Like, yeah, I got through it pretty quickly. And then once it got going, I had a hard time stopping. Also, side note, I did listen to it like right before I went to bed, and then I had some really weird dreams because it's kind of a psychological thriller kind of book. So just a warning, don't listen to it right before you go to bed or read it. You're going to have some weird dreams. It's a thing. Next, I have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Now, this is a book that I actually started like last fall, and I actually thought I had read it. Somebody would actually ask me, they're like, what'd you think of it? And I was like, oh, it was sad. And then I realized I didn't finish it because it got sad, and I didn't feel like being sad that day, so I put it down. And I don't think I finished it because I found it and I had a bookmark in it like 2/3 the way through, and I was like, oh, I should finish that. So I actually started it over because it had been 6 months and I didn't remember anything. So I started it from the beginning, and I think I cried like 4 times during this book. It's sad. Basically, it's about a little boy whose mother is going through some cancer treatments, and the yew tree in the backyard comes to life and starts talking to him and helping him process some of his emotions. It was a book that was a little hard to read. I mean, even with losing my father 4 years ago, it was bringing up emotions from that, and it just made me sad, but at the same time, it made me want to read. And I enjoyed this. Now, I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm probably going to try and watch it sometime this month. I think I'm going to grab it from Redbox because now that I've finished the book, I want to see the movie. And I did give this book 4 out of 5 stars, a high 4, so probably more like a 4.4, 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really did like it, though I don't think it's the kind of book I'm going to read over and over because it was sad, but the pictures in it are absolutely beautiful. Next, I read Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. Now, this is kind of the conclusion of the Lunar Chronicles. This one has, I think, 9 novellas all bound up in one, kind of following up on all of our characters from the Lunar Chronicles series. And it's really good. I mean, I liked the series. I think I gave almost all the books either like a 4.5 to a 5 because I enjoyed all of them. I definitely enjoyed the characters as well. I asked you guys what your favorite ones are, so now you can know what my favorite ones were in here. I actually really did enjoy The Keeper. That's the first one, and it kind of talks about Scarlett's grandmother and kind of her like background and all of it and how it weaves in, and I just liked the backstory. I did. I enjoyed that part of it. I also liked the Carsdale story. I love Carsdale. He's like one of my favorite characters because he's so flawed, yet he's so like so full of himself. You can just spot those insecurities like a mile away, but I find that endearing, and I just love him. And though it's a story of him back in the day, I still liked it. I also liked The Mechanic. It's basically where the scene where Lynn Cinder first meets Prince, but reversed. So it's from his point of view, and he has Nancy, and he's taking her down to the shop and everything like that, and he sees Cinder and she's standing there all awkward because she doesn't have a foot on, but he doesn't know that. So I kind of like the reverse side. I thought that was really fun. I don't think I'd read a whole book like that. Okay, I probably would, but it wouldn't be at the top of my list. But I did enjoy having that one scene from his side. I definitely enjoyed Something Old, Something New. It's kind of the wrap up of the whole series, and there's a wedding, and that's all I'm going to tell you in case you haven't read it. But I mean, that's probably everybody's favorite. Carsdale's my favorite, but that one was a close second because it's just so sweet. And the last book I read this month is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Actually, this was like the first one I read this month. This is a retelling of the Queen of Hearts, and basically it's how she got to be the Queen of Hearts. I don't want to give spoilers or anything because, well, spoilers suck. But we do follow Kath, that is the Queen's name, and she is a baker. I gotta tell you, reading this book, I was super hungry, like all the time. They talk about making pastries like constantly and macaroons, and every time I was reading I was like, I wonder where in town I could find some macaroons. There are places, but macaroons are not on my diet, so I had nothing. I honestly just popped mince into my mouth while I was reading it to kind of help trick my brain into thinking I was eating something awesome. It didn't quite work, but it kind of worked. But it was a really fun book. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the journey, even though I knew where it was going to end, which was a little weird. Usually I don't like to know endings, but obviously I knew the ending of The Queen of Hearts. But this was a really cool book, a really great way to get there. It was a fun journey. I did end up giving this 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely enjoyed it. Definitely would read it again. Maybe next time I won't be on a diet. These are the books that I read in the month of May. Please feel free to leave a comment down below if you've read any of these books and let me know what you thought of them. I would love to know what your rating is, what you thought of them. Since I've read them, I don't care if you spoil them, but let's not spoil them for other people. You know what I mean? Feel free to like if you liked this video. Also, feel free to hit subscribe so that you will see when I have a new video up. If you want to be notified immediately, there's a tiny bell by the subscribe, and you can click on that, and whenever I post a video, you will magically be alerted. Technology these days, Again, don't forget to leave your comments below. I'd love to hear about these books, what you guys thought about them. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys another time. Goodbye.